Welcome back to Awareness, everyone. The Mother Emanuel shooting, Trayvon Martin, Walter Scott, George Floyd, Tamir Rice, A.J. Owens, Breonna Taylor, Cyrus Carmack Belton. What do they all have in common? All were killed, all black people, all kickstarting conversations about race, topics that could be difficult to discuss, but ones that are so necessary for the betterment of our community right here and really our society. To help facilitate challenging conversations about race, Richland Library has been hosting community conversations called Let's Talk Race, which really encourages courageous conversations about race, equity, and inclusion. And now the library taking that a step further by launching a curriculum to address issues of race. Joining me on the show today to talk more about this is Chief Equity and Engagement Officer Tamara King and Children and Teen Services Manager Heather McHugh. Ladies, thank you so much for coming to Awareness.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
So glad to have you here. Let's talk about race.
Okay.
This is so necessary because a lot of times, even when you say black, white, people just start tensing up and they feel like they can't talk about it. First question, why is it important to make sure that we have this open dialogue where you don't tense up when you hear the word race?
The only way that real progress happens, the only way to move things forward, and throughout history has always been, is the talking, the getting to know each other. It is really hard to hate someone that you know and you know personally. Not just what you see on social media, not just what you've heard about them on the news, but when you really know them. It is really hard to hate a person based on just what you think about that person. So I think by talking is when we are able to really make those connections. We call it being proximate. How proximate are you to other people and getting out of that bubble?
Heather, I would love for you to come in with you having more of a focus on the youth with Richland Library. When you see young people attending these Let's Talk Race conversations, how does that help them? What are some of the changes and developments that you're seeing with our youth here?
It's always exciting to see them in the conversations, and they bring a lot of energy. And I think one of the things that I love about having teens attend our conversation is they don't always have some of the same baggage that adults do. So they kind of come with a really fresh perspective and less fear about having these conversations, and they're really engaged. So it's always really exciting to have them as part of the conversation and also to understand that they're part of our community too.
It's so important. For people who have not had the pleasure or opportunity to attend Let's Talk Race conversations with the library, what is that platform like?
Well, we have trained facilitators. The library has staff that we have trained to be facilitators on tough conversations, race, women's rights, social justice, those types of things. And you have one facilitator in we call it a circle of dialogue. And so people are around a table usually, or at least in a circle, where they're able to have those conversations and drop their guard. And then there's somebody in the circle, our staff person, our Let's Talk Race facilitator, that is trained to create safe spaces, safe, brave spaces. Because we want you to be brave. We want you to be courageous. We want you to ask the things that you may be nervous to ask your coworker or someone around the water cooler at work, or even a family member. You know, we've had people ask things like, why is it not a good idea to touch a black woman's hair? If I see something and I don't agree with it, should I say something, or am I going to be seen as a racist? People getting to know what white privilege is, right, and what that looks like
Y'all
on
are
them.
really going deep with these
We
topics.
go very, very deep,
so
and we're not
important.
afraid. And I think that's the benefit of the facilitator, because in us, you know, you can trust that we're going to have your back, even if you say something that you may feel is a little controversial, or if you express yourself, we're going to make sure that you feel safe and you're safe to have that conversation.
And to be clear with our viewers, obviously on Awareness, we really hone in on the black community, but all the conversations that are happening with the Let's Talk Race is not strictly black and white. It's diverse topics here we're talking about, right?
I think in the South, we often think black and white,
Yeah.
right? But what we have found, even in when we did our training, and Heather can talk more about this, even with our team, they were like, wait a minute, it's not all black and white. It is indigenous people and Latinx, and also LGBTQ+. How do we create a space of belonging and inclusion for us all?
Absolutely. And I mean, there's so many experiences in our community alone, and I think there's such power when we sit at those tables and you get to hear from your neighbor what their lived experience is. It really does change people.
When did the library decide that we needed to start this Let's Talk Race? Was there one thing that happened in our society and you came together and said, hey, we need to fix this?
It was a number of things. It was Walter Scott, Emanuel Nine, several people at the library, myself included, know people, have family members that were affiliated in some way or have some connection to the Emanuel Nine. And it was like that summer back in like 2015, 2016, where we constantly were seeing Black people or people, even the Pulse nightclub shooting, people being killed because of hatred, right? Because of who they were in some way. And our staff said, we're hurting. We need to do something. And we saw that our community was talking at each other and not to each other. And really, we just had this one conversation about how does the library respond? We're one of the few places where you can get an unbiased information in your chair, you know, without all the red tape. It's very few places that you can do that. And so we found that we could step into that circle.
And you have a Let's Talk Race conversation coming up this month, right, on August 15th. Tell us more about that, Heather.
We do. So it's in partnership with the Columbia Museum of Art. They have this amazing Catawba pottery exhibit up right now, and so we saw it as an opportunity to really bring to light Indigenous and Native issues in our community and really to hear. And we've had one in-person conversation, and it really is, it brought to light, you know, we have at least one reservation in our state, and a lot of people don't think that that's a place that they can go or they can engage in that community. And so just being able to bring to light some of the joy and the issues facing our Indigenous and Native community members has been huge. And so we'll have a virtual conversation on Tuesday, August 15th, where we'll continue that. It's at 6:30. You can go to richlandlibrary.com to join in, and you can do it from the comfort of your own home. So it's a very safe environment, and we'll bring the art to you in that conversation, so you don't even have to go to the museum, although I do encourage you because it's a beautiful exhibit.
Yes, to just be there and really take it in. Well, ladies, we're going to pause the conversation right there. We're going to go to commercial break, but when we return, we are going to continue our Let's Talk Race conversation with Heather and Tamara up next. You're not going to want to miss the new details about that curriculum. We'll be right back.